This is part 2 on how to actually change yourself and why most people will never change. In the last video, we went over, I think, like 3 pillars of why people don't change and how you can actually change. And those were accountability, falling. Those were accountability, emotional maturity and self-awareness, and physical health. I would honestly recommend you go watch that video first. But if you want to watch them out of order, there's really no special order to this, so you can watch part 2. There might even be a part 3. Who the fuck knows? Because at this point, these explanations are getting incredibly long. Anyway, welcome to Treu Sovereignty, where we are mastering our minds and so we can reclaim our peace. And on this channel, we intertwine self-improvement with critical thinking. You can't have one without the other, number 1. And number 2, how do you expect to know how to critically think about the world, which is complex, if you don't know how to critically think about yourself and know yourself, which is also complex? So you can't have one without the other, so I'm teaching you how to have both. So welcome to my community, my journey. In my comments down below, you'll find some really intelligent thinkers. So check it out. Let's get into the video. So this is incredibly important, and it's something that I think we're losing the ability to be able to do in these modern times. I think modern times have really fucking stunted humanity. Weak men create hard times. That's what's happening here. Strong men create good times. I don't know what the rest is. The ability to deal with adversity. Such an amazing skill to have. I think it is incredibly underrated as a skill to have. Because if you can deal with adversity, if you can deal with difficult moments, no matter how big or small, and you can do it sober, oh my God, you are a fucking badass. And I'm sorry to say, I'm a fucking badass because I can do it. I have done it right now, and for maybe like 2 months now, this has kind of been the hardest time of my life. And so far it's been smooth because of course things change over time, but I'm doing this all sober. And that is the way that I know that I will be able to stay sober, is because I have the ability now to face hard times without numbing my emotions. And it's such an amazing skill to have. And I think we're losing that ability because our lives are so easy for us. And that's another reason I think people like liberals and maybe even Karens and emotionally immature people, I think they're running amok, because the design of a human is to constantly be looking for problems, right? That's kind of how the human brain is designed. We're constantly looking for problems. So when we don't see any problems, we create problems. But our lives have been so fucking easy. The 21st century, 2026, 2025, 2026, has been the easiest year of humanity to date. We have everything that can do everything for us. We have Google, which can answer anything. We have AI now to do anything and everything for us. Jobs will be gone in like 10 years, maybe even sooner. Right now, to date, we got DoorDash. We don't even have to leave our fucking houses to get food. But at this point, everything is just so easy for us and cushy. Life is cushy. We are not living in the bubonic plague. We are not living in a war zone. I'm not saying everybody's life. I'm obviously just talking about the USA, maybe Canada, the UK, Europe, parts of Europe, some Scandinavian countries, maybe some parts of Asia. Obviously, just look around the world. You can look and see what our past was like by looking at some third world countries, right? We're living life on easy mode here in the USA. And so everybody's screaming and shouting about whatever the fuck because they're bored. They're bored and they lack purpose. But also, they're screaming because they're like little children. What's the common denominator between an adult today and children? They don't know how to deal with their emotions. They don't know how to deal with adversity quite yet. Children have an excuse. They've only been here for a few years, a decade. It takes a while to learn these skills. And not only that, their brains aren't even developed quite yet. But an adult does not have an excuse. If your brain has been developed at age 25, and especially if you are well into your 30s, you should be on your way to emotional maturity. And that is, I would say, around 80% of your life and your interactions should be peaceful, calm, cool, and collected. If you're noticing that your life is chaotic, that your relationships are chaotic, that you can't hold down a job, or that it's very hard for you to do so, you can't hold a relationship, you can't hold friendship, your family relationships are falling apart, and you're the common denominator, then you need to take accountability and realize what's going on in your life. But the ability to handle your own issues on your own and to be able to problem solve without running to mommy and daddy, without running to somebody to help you. Now, we all have to run to a plumber or an HVAC guy every now and then, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dealing with your own issues, mostly like emotional, and yeah, maybe even sometimes small fixes around the house, or looking it up on Google, doing it your goddamn self sometimes every now and then, instead of just having a temper tantrum and saying, throwing your hands up and calling your mommy. And you know, like, these are the ways that you see that you're not very well adjusted in life, is if you're doing those things. And you're never going to change if you don't know how to handle adversity. They always say that the people at the end of the world, if there ever was an apocalypse or a war that broke out that really affected us, the people who are going to survive are not those with the most food and the most weapons and the most clothing or whatever. It's the people with the mental fortitude. The people who can handle the fact that their lives have just been blown up into a million pieces and that their lives will never be the same. The people who can mentally handle that. So being able to mentally handle adversity and take it with calmness, those are the people that are going to be able to change in this world, because success comes with failure. Failure after failure after failure. Oh my God. Ever since starting social media, it's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster. One video will get 3,000 views. The next video will get like 10 views. It's like a damn roller coaster. And the fact that I can mentally handle that and not take it personally is going to be why I'm successful, because I'm not going to give up because a video didn't do too hot. It's being able to take failures as learning experiences as opposed to taking failures and then giving up and saying, well, whatever, I guess I'm not worth it. Fuck it. Being able to handle conflict. They say relationships that last, like romantic relationships, last not because you're best friends and you're happy and you're giggly. The relationships that last, the romantic relationships that last, are the ones that know how to fight with each other. They're the ones that know how to handle conflict in a productive, efficient manner. If you notice that everything in life is more successful if you know how to deal with the horrors of life. Not just being able to be smiley and smiley when everything's great, but being able to be smiley and smiley when everything's bad as well. I'm gonna mush these two together. The ability to be alone, locked in on your purpose, and actually love yourself. When you love yourself, you respect yourself, and you expect everybody to do the same. Having self-worth and having self-respect will actually level up your boundaries. Naturally. You won't ever have to put up a boundary. You know, when they say, well, just put up a boundary. If you actually loved yourself, your boundaries would already be there. You wouldn't have to build boundaries. The boundary would just be there, naturally. So you should never have to put up a boundary. The boundary should just be there. When you have purpose, you are okay being alone. You are okay being without friends. You are okay being without a lover. You are okay being totally alone in solitude. You just are. When you have purpose, when you have something that you're working towards, it comes naturally, just as with the boundaries being put up naturally. They're just there. When you have purpose, you are naturally okay being by yourself. And I'm a huge proponent of, like, yeah, you should have community as well. But with purpose and the building of your empire, whatever that is for you, will come community. That's the thing. When you work on yourself, when you love yourself, everything else comes after. The wife, the husband, the kids, the community, the friends, everything flows after. People don't seem to realize that. Because why? They want to focus on finding love first. And the reason why you want to find love first is because you don't want to be alone. You're afraid to be alone. And that in turn turns to obsession with love, dating, and finding love. If you meet somebody very naturally and you go on dates, that is very different than let me go on this dating app and get like 5 dates a month. That is a love obsession. That is a fear of being alone. You see the difference? If you meet somebody at an event or through a mutual friend and you start to date them, that's not a love obsession. That's, hey, I met this person, I really like them, I'm gonna give it a try. But going on dating apps and obsessively searching for love is different. And it's distracting. And you'll notice a few things when you have a purpose. You'll care less. You'll stop giving a fuck. You'll stop giving a fuck what other people think of you. And then, therefore, you will not seek relationships out of desperation. Your relationships will not be built out of desperation. In fact, you might even be like, I really don't want a relationship because I'm working on my purpose. Someone posted a video and the title, I didn't even have to watch the video because the title was perfection. The title was, you only have love obsession when you have no purpose. And I would even go further than that. When you have no purpose, you have other horrible symptoms that come with that as well. A lot of it is addiction to drugs and alcohol. Full circle. We've come full circle here, folks. Why sobriety is pretty great. And how I know that I've healed my abandonment wounds and my lacking of purpose is that I was able to go sober, cold turkey, overnight, from 2 substances. And not only that, but I do have purpose, which I already mentioned. Sorry about that. It was that I healed my abandonment wound and I gained purpose. That is how I was able to go sober overnight. Not only that, but even prior to being sober, I did a lot of shadow work, a lot of mind work, a lot of self-awareness work, and began to love myself. How do you actually love yourself? How do you really love yourself? You gotta do your shadow work. You gotta accept and love the parts of yourself that are unsavory, that you don't love right now, but you will love and accept as soon as you can. And you'll be treating yourself, you'll know that you've passed the threshold when you start to treat yourself as you would treat your child, if you have a child. Or if you have a pet, you start to treat yourself like the pet. You start to be protective of yourself. You start to love yourself so much, not to the point where you don't take accountability and you're like, I'm never wrong. No, that's not self-love. Self-love is actually the ability to say you are wrong, actually, this time around. Just as with your child, you discipline a child or you discipline a pet. Or you know you have a true friend when your friend is telling you, hey, that outfit looks like shit, sorry. Not in a manner of like, I'm gonna criticize you and abuse you, but in a manner of, as your friend, I cannot let you go out looking like that. So you'll notice you pass the threshold of self-love when you actually start to self-protect, like you would protect a small child or protect your adorable, cute little pet. You would die for that little pet. You would die for your child. And you would die for yourself. That is how you love yourself, unconditionally, while taking accountability. That's the beauty of it. So, actually loving yourself, self-love, for real, having a purpose, and being okay alone. And all of those connect in one way or another. They all intertwine with each other. You can't have one without the other. That's just how it is. That is why I kind of intertwined all of those pillars into one, because they all kind of connect. Figured I'd just take this time also before I get to the last pillar to say, something just hit my head, to say that you should be comforted in knowing that I changed my life, I transformed my life in a year. You can do this in a year, I'm telling you. Some people take 5 years, some people take a decade, some people take their whole life. You can do this in a year if you lock in. But the last pillar is releasing instant gratification, expectation to outcome. Releasing those. Just release it. Realize that not everything is going to happen to you overnight, and that this is a process. Yes, it took me about a year, and that's not a very long time to be able to transform your life completely, but I had to, because I had to make this channel so you could learn. The universe needed that, so I had to do all that work. But no, I transformed my life in a year because I had to. Not just to make this channel, but because my last relationship woke me up. Not because it was some crazy, abusive, horrible relationship, but because I saw how much I was giving, but I was not, to them, but I was not doing that to myself. And that I had given so much of myself away that I essentially was left with nothing. And I realized that I was doing too much. I was doing way too much for other people and not enough for myself and my purpose. So I took the year and I said, I'm gonna change who I am. I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna be single. I'm just going to completely transform my life into what I want it to be, instead of making my life into what somebody else wants it to be. But in that, I had to release the expectation of outcome. And what does that mean? I had to release how I thought things would occur. I have to release that. If you want to find love someday, you have to release how you think it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. If you want to make $1 million someday, you have to release how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. You just gotta lock in and go and move. If you want to buy a house and have a farm, it's the same thing over and over and over again. Release expectation of outcome. Release that. You can plan your life all you want, but as a 32-year-old woman, I've made hundreds of plans, and none of them have ever gone as planned. Nothing has ever gone as planned. And a lot of it was unprecedented events. The biggest one being COVID. I mean, I had so many plans for my life that fell apart just because of COVID, an outside force, an act of God that I had no control over. And again, being able to deal with adversity kind of helped me through that. It helped a lot of people through that. But it was also the downfall of some people not being able to deal with adversity, right? Being able to be patient and release instant gratification. Everybody in this world is a slave to instant gratification. Why? I think we can all guess. Scrolling, TikTok, social media. It gives you instant gratification. Our attention spans are fried. And it's not just, oh, I can't study, I can't read. It's also, attention spans are also fantastic for realizing that everything in life that you want is gonna come with time and longevity. And if you don't have the patience, and if you don't have the grit, and if you don't have the ability to not get what you want when you want it, you're never going to reach what you want. Because success comes with failure. Success comes with slow moments. Success comes with downfalls and tower moments of just horrific events sometimes. Unprecedented events will get in your way. You know, death of a family member, a pandemic, possibly a war, a financial crash. Unprecedented events will get in your way as well. You just have to keep going. And you have to realize that this is not an overnight endeavor. Your life is not an overnight endeavor. Your transformation, your purpose, your career is not an overnight endeavor. It is something that you have to accept is going to take time. And once you accept that, and once you realize that, then you will be able to change your life. And like I said, I always say this, you don't have to do every single thing I say to be able to change your life, but the more you do, the easier it will be to change your life. My equipment is dying because it's so cold out here. Oh my God, this has been like the worst filming sesh. I think I lost a battery when I fell. And all my equipment's dying because it's so cold. And my fingers are on fire. So, but as you can see, I keep going. And my light died too, so. But I keep going, you know? I keep doing it. And I fell a couple times, which is probably where my battery went. But anyway, that's part 2. If you like this type of content, feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe so I can buy more batteries for my damn GoPro. But yeah, keep a good attitude. And just know when you lose GoPro battery, it's just an excuse to buy another one. And a better one that holds battery even during the cold. So, until next time, I will see you in the next video.